Let me ask you something real. Have you ever looked back on a relationship and thought, how did I not see it coming? It starts off like a dream. Chemistry, attention, that thrill of being wanted. But then, somewhere along the way, things shift. You start feeling drained, unsure, even betrayed. It's not just heartbreak. It's a psychological weight that slowly wears you down. This video isn't about blame. It's about clarity. If you've ever been with someone who seemed loyal, but something always felt off, this might explain why. We're going to walk through 9 emotional warning signs that many men overlook until it's too late. These aren't just theories. They come from real-life stories, patterns observed over years, and hard-learned lessons most men never talk about out loud. Some of these signs are subtle, others loud and clear, but all of them share one thing in common. If ignored, they can shatter your sense of trust. So listen closely. This isn't just about spotting red flags. It's about protecting your peace. And it all starts with something surprisingly common, yet dangerously misunderstood. Let's be honest. You probably know this feeling. You're dating someone, and suddenly you notice she seems to have a lot of male friends. Not just a few from work or childhood. We're talking about a steady rotation of guys who text her late at night, comment heart emojis on her posts, or just always seem to be around. Now here's the catch. She calls them just friends. But their behavior says something different. And deep down, you feel it. There's a term for this: orbiters. Men who stick close, waiting for a moment of weakness, hoping for a chance. And if she enjoys that kind of attention, if she encourages it even subtly, that's not harmless, especially if she never sets boundaries. If she flirts back, keeps in touch with exes, or always has a backup guy for emotional support, that's not friendship. That's a safety net. One man once told me, she cheated on me with someone she called her brother. He found out later that there had always been tension there. He just didn't want to see it. Sometimes loyalty isn't loud, but disloyalty usually is. You just have to know where to look. Have you ever listened to someone talk about all their past relationships, and in every story, they were the victim? He was toxic. My ex didn't appreciate me. I cheated, yeah, but only because he pushed me to it. When someone refuses to take ownership of anything, that's not vulnerability, that's avoidance. And in relationships, it's dangerous. Men often get trapped in this cycle. They meet someone who blames every failed relationship on the other person. At first, it might sound like honesty, but over time you start to realize she never sees her own patterns. She never says, I hurt someone, I made a mistake. Even more alarming, if she admits to cheating, but always frames it as something that happened to her, not something she chose. That's not self-awareness. That's deflection. One guy once told me, she cheated on her ex but swore she'd never do it again. I believed her, until she did the same to me. Here's the truth. If someone can't take responsibility for their past, they're not ready to build anything solid in the future. And that brings us to a more modern but equally dangerous mask: romanticizing promiscuity as empowerment. Today, there's a growing narrative that says, a woman who's been with many partners is just exploring herself. It's empowerment, it's freedom. And listen, everyone has the right to their choices. But when someone celebrates their past without reflection, when they brag about how wild they were, how they've lived more than others, and you start to feel judged or shamed for wanting depth or commitment, that's a red flag. It's not about numbers. It's about mindset. If she constantly mocks women who are more reserved, or belittles men who prefer loyalty over sexual experience, she's not defending freedom, she's defending chaos. There's a difference between owning your past and glorifying it. And for many men, being with someone who treats commitment like a cage often ends in frustration. You're looking for trust. She might be chasing the next thrill. One man told me, she laughed when I said I wanted a simple life with one person. She called it boring, but I wasn't asking for boring. I was asking for real. And if real feels like a threat to her, she might not be ready for the kind of relationship you want. Now, let's talk about something even more visible: how she presents herself when you're not around. Let's make something clear. Dressing well isn't the issue. Confidence is attractive, but the question is, who is she dressing for? You've probably noticed this dynamic before. When it's just the two of you, she throws on sweats, no makeup. But the moment she's going out without you, suddenly it's high heels, plunging necklines, and half a bottle of perfume. Now, don't get me wrong. Women should feel free to express themselves. But if the pattern is consistent, if she only dresses to impress when you're not there, that's not about style. That's about seeking male validation, and it doesn't stop at clothing. Think about the photos she posts online. Are they constantly angled to show off her body? Are the captions vague but suggestive, designed to attract thirsty comments? One man told me, "I realized she only looked her best when I wasn't around, and every time I brought it up, she called me insecure." But here's the truth. It's not about insecurity. It's about intention. If attention from strangers feeds her more than connection with you, that's not fashion. That's a flashing warning light. Now let's take this further to how she behaves when the party starts and the drinks come in. You can tell a lot about someone not just by how they act when things are calm, but by how they act when no one's watching, when the music is loud and the night feels endless. Ask yourself, what happens when she goes out with friends? Does she drink to the point of blacking out, disappear for hours and return with vague excuses? Constantly say, "Don't worry, it's just girls' night," but refuses to let you near that world. One man told me, "Every time she went to a party, I felt this knot in my stomach, and I hated that I felt that way. But every time something didn't add up." It's not about controlling someone, it's about patterns. A woman who consistently puts herself in chaotic environments, who loses control under the influence, is putting your relationship at risk, even if she doesn't mean to. Worse yet, the sleeping at a friend's house excuse has become a classic cover-up in betrayal stories. If she's choosing the high of the party over the stability of your connection, pay attention. Because next, we're stepping into something deeper and often more dangerous: emotional instability. You know that feeling when everything is peaceful, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a storm hits. That's what it's like being with someone emotionally unstable. One moment, she's affectionate, loving, clinging to you like you're her whole world. The next, she's cold, distant, or exploding over something minor, like a comment you made or a glance she misunderstood. You find yourself walking on eggshells, trying to predict her moods, fix the damage, keep the peace. But the truth is, you're not in a relationship, you're managing emotional chaos. And here's the hidden danger. Unstable women often seek validation from others when they're emotionally unbalanced, especially from men. Not necessarily because they want to cheat, but because they need someone to stabilize their inner world, even temporarily. One man shared, "She wasn't cheating physically at first, but every time we had a fight, she'd message other guys, vent to them, flirt, and call it harmless. But it's not harmless. Emotional betrayal weakens the bond long before physical betrayal ever happens, and if she thrives on emotional drama, the next red flag will likely be in her pocket, vibrating every few seconds. You're sitting next to her on the couch. She's smiling, but not at you. She's glued to her screen, laughing at messages you'll never read. You ask, "Who's that?" She replies, "Just a friend." Why are you so paranoid? But deep down, something feels off. Her phone is always in her hand. Flipped screen down, password changed often, never out of sight. She texts in silence, giggles to herself, and if you get too close, she pulls it away like you're invading. Sacred space. Let's be honest. In today's world, the phone isn't just a device, it's a portal to other lives, other connections, and sometimes, other men. A woman who's fully present in your relationship doesn't need to hide her screen. But when the phone becomes her real partner, when it's getting more attention, more smiles, more secrecy, it's time to pay attention. One man told me, she said she was loyal, but she had 3 dating apps still active, said she forgot to delete them. Phones don't lie, behavior does, and when constant stimulation becomes a need, the next warning sign is never far behind. An addiction to adrenaline and novelty. Some people don't fall in love with a person. They fall in love with the rush. They crave movement, noise, stimulation. One weekend, it's a spontaneous trip. The next, it's a party in a city you've never heard of. They live for chaos, disguised as freedom. At first, it seems exciting. You feel alive just being around her. But slowly, it hits you. She's not building anything stable. She's chasing feelings, not foundations. And that chase? It never ends. When the relationship feels calm or predictable, she grows restless. She might pick a fight out of nowhere. Or worse, seek out drama, excitement, even other men. Just to feel something again. One man said, "She told me she was bored, but I gave her peace, not chaos." And that wasn't enough for her. If a woman needs a constant emotional high, she might mistake loyalty for monotony. And in her search for the next thrill, she could risk everything real, including you. And now we arrive at one of the most revealing signs of all, her beliefs about men, and what she really thinks you're capable of. What someone believes about love shapes how they love. If she truly believes that all men are selfish, unfaithful, and only after one thing, how do you think she'll treat you? Women who carry this belief often build emotional walls before you even get close. They expect betrayal, they assume manipulation, and sometimes they use that assumption to justify their own detachment or even their own disloyalty. You might hear things like, "All men cheat eventually." "Guys only pretend to care to get what they want." Or the classic, "Love isn't real, it's all just hormones." And even if you show her consistency, kindness, loyalty, she'll question it, she'll test you. Or worse, she'll sabotage it, because deep down she doesn't believe your intentions are genuine. One man told me, "No matter what I did, she never trusted me. In the end, she cheated first, just to protect herself." When someone is convinced that love always ends in pain, they might hurt you first, just to avoid being hurt themselves. And if several of these signs have hit close to home, it might be time for a difficult but necessary decision. Let's talk about that. If you've recognized 2, 3, maybe even more of these signs, take a breath. This isn't about panic, it's about waking up before the damage becomes permanent. Many men stay in emotionally draining relationships not because they're weak, but because they hope things will change. They believe that loyalty, effort, and patience will be enough to heal what's clearly broken. But the truth is, you can't fix what someone refuses to acknowledge. Let's be clear, no one is perfect. But when a woman shows a consistent pattern of seeking attention, avoiding responsibility, disrespecting boundaries, and distrusting men as a whole, it's not a phase. It's a warning. The most dangerous relationships don't always start with pain. They start with charm, chemistry, and a sense of being chosen. But that feeling can turn into confusion, then anxiety, then heartbreak, unless you learn to protect your emotional peace. So here's what I ask of you. Trust your gut. Pay attention. Value your sanity. And if this video spoke to something inside, share your story below. You're not alone in this. And your experience might help another man wake up in time.